Hey everybody, Alex Kazora, SteelersDepot.com, back with some Pittsburgh Steelers tape breakdown and analysis. We talk so much about offense, defense, we don't give a lot of love to special teams. I want to do that today because one Steeler in particular, wide receiver Miles Boykin, has been dominant on special teams the first three games, and he certainly deserves a film room breakdown. Through Pittsburgh's first three games of the regular season, Miles Boykin has 5 total tackles. That is tied for the second most special teams tackles in the NFL, only behind Jeremy Reeves with 6. And what teams are finding out, especially on the punt team, is you can't have just one jammer on Miles Boykin. If you do that, you're going to have a bad time. So this is week 1 against the Bengals. I believe the first punt of the season the Pittsburgh Steelers had. Boykin, the gunner to the bottom, and he was really impressive this summer with his ability to work as a gunner and cover punts. And you see the one-on-one matchup here, and Boykin does a great job here winning off the line of scrimmage and forcing the fair catch. And so we'll see it here at the bottom, a really quick, clean release off the line. Boykin, that great speed, that long stride, stays clean, generally speaking, doesn't allow the jammer who makes contact late to be able to run him off his spot, and takes a great angle to the punt returner Trent Taylor and forces that fair catch. And again, talk about the punt game so much. There's always a focus on what is the average punt, what is Presley Harvin's average. You want it to be 47, 48 yards. It's that average overall, roughly. The net is really the important stat to look at. It's the actual punt followed by the return. You have a 50-yard punt and a 10-yard return. That's a 40-yard net, and that is below the line in the NFL. So it is so crucial and important to have a really good gunner like Miles Boykin. Bengals did not learn their lesson the first time. The next punt the Steelers have, Boykin again at the bottom here, and still just singled up with the one jammer. And just like before, Boykin is able to stay clean, work down the line, gets held right here. They did not call this. They should have. The jammer totally, drags Boykin down to the ground, and he's able to still get back up, get back in the play. Good coverage overall, so not just Miles Boykin, Connor Hayward getting in there as well. But a really good release overall. So again, you have Boykin singled up here, one-on-one, gunner versus jammer. That's a matchup Boykin's been winning routinely this year, starting with the summer. This is a more aggressive return. And so what that does is it forces teams, as you'll see in a second, to double team and double vice Miles Boykin. And that doesn't allow them to be as aggressive on their punt rush. You can't always send numbers whenever you have vices, defending the gunners. And so you see a more aggressive rush here from the Bengals. Structurally, teams won't be able to do that as often if they want to be able to take care of Miles Boykin, who, again, gets held here, clearly drugged down by this jammer, but gets back up again. Good coverage overall. That's Connor Hayward. That's Spillane. I think that might have been, I can't tell exactly. That is Jameer Jones, actually. So it's not just on Boykin here, but watching him isolated on this play, that's a good rep. And so later in the game, the Bengals finally wise up and say, hey, man, our punt return game has been miserable to start this game. It's a close game against Pittsburgh. We better change something. And you see the vice here, the 2 jammers on Miles Boykin. This ended up being a more safe return. You'll see one of these Bengals guys peel off here as well. But you're seeing the vice specifically off the line on Miles Boykin. And yet he still is working through. And that's when being a receiver certainly helps. Receivers have to be able to use their hands well to get off press coverage, understand the release package, and it really has a similar application when you're talking about special teams. A guy trying to get off the line, and even with the 2 jammers here, you see Boykin get out of bounds. The jammers are no longer allowed to contact him, and Boykin has to get back in bounds, which he does here. He splits both of them. A good swipe here to get free and help squeeze this one. Does not make the tackle. Benny Snell with a good stop overall. But again, we're talking about the change in structure overall. You saw the Bengals have more aggressive returns. They were one-on-one on the outside. Boykin was really wrecking them, not allowing any sort of returns. Rush not getting home. Bengals go to a safe return, and still Boykin right here, staying clean, staying free, helping to, hold his gap and lane and, forcing this one wide. And then Benny Snell uses leverage with the sideline and cleans it up with a really good stop. Another Bengals safe return here late in the game, and here is the vice to the bottom. So to be fair, it felt like the vice was coming to the hash the ball was on. Maybe not specifically to Boykin, but you're going to see one of these guys in the line peel off here to try to double team Miles Boykin here later downfield. So we'll run this thing through and just watch Boykin on this left hash punt that goes to the left sideline and Boykin still impacting the play and making that tackle. And so typically that gunner that's all the way on the opposite hash, opposite side of the field to where the punt lands on the left sideline here, may not make that play a lot. But for Boykin to come down and make that solo tackle, good job by James Pierre as well. I think Pierre's done a nice job as a gunner as well. And you see him be able to win off the line here and get that initial slowdown of Trent Taylor, and then Boykin comes in and cleans things up. But overall, just good release by Boykin to win cleanly here. Jammer trailing the whole way. Pierre, a nice job. And those two have done a really good job on the punt coverage team this year. Fast forward to week 2 against the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick, the special teams savant that he is. Nobody loves talking about long snappers and the history of special teams more than Bill Belichick says, well, I just watched week 1 and Boykin completely wrecked the punt team. I got to do something different here in week number 2 to try to give our punt return team a chance. And so you might notice here, if you count them up, there's only 9 players here. Of course, plus the punt returner, that's 10. So where is that 11th man at? And you're going to see him come into focus here in just a moment. So again, Boykin winning off the line here, one-on-one, and there is that 11th player specifically designed deep to probably pick off a guy like Miles Boykin, and he does that here on this play. And you're going to see him be able to bump Boykin off, and the Patriots actually get a pretty strong return out of it. The net yardage on this play overall was not that great. And so initially, Boykin singled up here against this jammer, and you see him win off the line here. We'll run that one through. See a nice job here to ride that jammer and then swim over part of that release package and then win cleanly. And again, the Patriots having to adjust their game plan to account for guys like Miles Boykin. It works well for them here, but you see the way teams are adjusting to Boykin, how they're playing things differently based on the coverage unit that Pittsburgh has, and it's kind of forcing teams to be creative, Belichick especially, to do something different here on this rep. So we'll look at it from the end zone view, and we'll watch Boykin right here, and there is that extra, I don't know what you want to call him, extra blocker, downfield blocker, to try to pick Boykin off, and that creates the return lane down the sideline for the Patriots punt returner. And one last example from the Pittsburgh Steelers Week 3 loss Thursday to the Cleveland Browns. Here is Miles Boykin aligned at R2 on this kick coverage play, and you're going to see him make an impact play in terms of making this tackle deep in Browns territory. Now, I don't know exactly what the return scheme was here for Cleveland. Obviously, Miles Boykin was left unblocked, so maybe not the most difficult play in the world in terms of getting to the kick returner, but whenever you're going to be the unblocked guy, the way that Miles Boykin is right here, you better be able to make that play, take advantage of the opportunity, and Boykin makes a tackle around the 11 or 12-yard line. So as opposed to the Browns taking a knee and a touchback, which puts them at the 25-yard line, he gets tackled here around the 11 or 12. So that's a 13, 14-yard swing in Pittsburgh's favor, which is a massive advantage, of course, for the Steelers, because Cam Hayward and Minkah Fitzpatrick and all those guys, they are not the first line of the Steelers defense. The special teams is the punt coverage, the kick coverage, and they help set that tone and create that good field position. And you see Miles Boykin with a great wrap and roll tackle make that play here. And so we'll look at it from the end zone view one time, but Boykin's been an impact player in all 3 games, changing how I think special teams can play them and the structure of it. And certainly, the Jets are going to be watching that this week, their special teams coach, and say, maybe we should take a touchback. Maybe we should just take a knee here because teams are trying to return this ball out and they're going nowhere. And so it's costing them in their offense field position. And so you see Boykin coming in free right there and making this tackle. And certainly as a Steelers fan, you will take Boykin making these plays. But if you can compel teams to take a knee basically every single time, that eliminates any risk of a long return of the offense getting any good field position or potential big-time splash play. And there's a benefit there certainly as well. So shout out Miles Boykin, who reminds me in some ways of Darius Hayward-Bay, who was a great speedster and long strider and went from high draft pick, first-round pick, to a great special teams player. Boykin, not a first-round pick, a different body type a little bit overall, but a great, long strider with fantastic 4.4 speed. Not quite as fast as DHB was, but similar impact nonetheless, making an impact despite not having a catch this season. He's doing it on special teams and doing it at a really high level. Certainly somebody who should be in Pro Bowl consideration. Will he get it? We'll see, but he's been off to a great start 3 weeks in. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would appreciate that. Again, thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.